Hello, hello, hello. And here I am talking to an ex-student of mine, Huong Nguyen. Huong and I met on an ACCA SBL course in Vietnam, which I conducted leading up to the December 2022 examinations. Recently, Huong received her results and shared with me, and of course many others on social media, that she had earned the highest marks in the SBL examination at that sitting. And so I thought this was an opportunity too good to miss. And I invited Huang to come along and talk to us about her experience, her ACCA journey, her learning experience, her exam experience, and so on, in the hope that that would inspire other students who are currently going through the examination process and who in the future will go through the examination process. Huang and I have agreed that this interview, this meeting, this chat is being recorded and that it'll be shared on social media by both of us. So I think we want to get the word out as widely as possible so that we can support current students and future students. So now I will shut up and say hello, Huang, and welcome, and thank you for taking the time for this chat.
Oh, sir.
All right, so I know that you haven't been well, and I can still hear it a little bit in your voice. So what happened? You caught a cold? What happened?
Yeah, right now the weather in Hanoi is quite cold, and maybe I got a virus from a friend of mine.
Oh dear. Well, you see,
Yeah.
that's the problem with friends. They give you, they share many things with you, including sometimes viruses. But anyway, it sounds as though you're getting better. So that's great news. So tell us, Wang, tell us a little bit about your background. I mean, you're a graduate, I assume, and you got exemptions from many of the ACCA professional scheme examinations. Is that right?
Um, yeah, but I got like three exemptions. I got exemption from F1, F2, and F6. The rest of the subjects I took the exam.
Wow. So basically, all of the applied skills subjects you had to go through, and
Yes.
you obviously got through them. And when you and I met in December, or leading up to the December exams last year, 2022, you had started on your strategic professional stage. How did you prepare for your applied skills examinations?
Well, I haven't really thought about that much, but maybe because of the subjects of the previous subjects ACCA that I have took, I have quite a sufficient knowledge. Like F9, you have you know a lot about NPV or IR, something like that. Or in F5, you have to calculate uh, costing ratios. And in F7, like in accounting, reading financial statement, like explaining them through the ratios. Yeah, they helped me a lot in SBL.
Yeah, but we'll come to SPL in just a second. But for the earlier papers, F5, F9, and so on that you just mentioned, how did you prepare for the examinations for those papers? Did you study on your own? Did you go to a training provider? And you don't have to name them if you don't want to.
Oh. I went to an institution in Vietnam. They all taught by Vietnamese teacher.
Okay, okay, great. And you passed all of them first time?
Yes.
Great. Well, that's quite an achievement. I certainly didn't manage to do that while I was studying. So I mean, you passed them. You went to an institution. It was a system that worked for you, right? And you put in, I'm sure, a lot of hours, a lot of hard work to get through those. So here you are. You've just started strategic professional. Was SBL the first strategic professional exam that you sat?
No, the first one was SBR.
SBR. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And how did you prepare for that, and how did you find it?
Well, actually, SBR, I studied on my own. Well, actually, I don't think it's as complicated as SBL. SBR is more about calculating, and the more exercises I do, the more fluent I do the calculating.
Right. So basically, the more you practice the calculations and so on, the better you get, which is of course normal, right? The more practice we do at anything, we get better at it. And did you go to an institution for to prepare for SBR as well?
Oh, yes, I asked for FTMS help. They sent me the PVC workbook and exercise, and they also sent me the lectures from the last lectures they had, and I based on those records, and I studied on my own.
Okay. Okay. So you had pre-recorded videos.
Yeah.
You had materials from an approved learning provider, officially authorized materials learning provider, BPP. I assume you meant BPP. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And basically, again, you worked your way through that. Now, this was your first strategic professional examination. Did you find SBR different because it was strategic at the strategic level compared to the earlier papers which relate to financial reporting?
Well, actually, for me, SBR is not well. It's not too different from F7, but in SBR, I find it more there are more personal judgment. Like in F7, you have this principle and you just have to apply it, like in the textbook says. But in SBR, there are some scenarios you have to see how it's actually see how it actually is in its substance, so that you can actually categorize them correctly.
Right. So that's an SBR at strategic stage, right? So that is basically placing you in a situation where you need to exercise judgment. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yes.
Okay, great. And you sat SBR when?
I oh, in June last year.
June 2022. Okay.
Yes.
And you passed it, I assume, first time.
Yes.
Incredible. All right. So up until now, you've had 100% pass rate, right? And sometimes you prepared for these on your own, sometimes with help from external training institutions. So what made you pick SBL for your next paper? Why
Well,
SBL?
I see the pass rate on the professional level, and I see that SBR and SBL are the highest. So I took the first.
Yeah, well, I mean that makes sense, doesn't it? Because if you here you are, the new stage at a new stage, right? ACCA exams, and you're a little bit unsure what to expect. So, and you know that you have to sit SBR and SBL anyway, and you see the pass rates are higher. So you say, well, look, you know what? I'm gonna have a go at these because when you pass, it suddenly gives you a huge boost in confidence, right? When you're sitting your subsequent strategic professional examinations. Now, before we go any further, and before I ask you about your SBL preparation experience, I want you to share your screen, Huang, and tell the audience how well you did at your SBL exam. So please go ahead and share your screen. So what is this, Huang? What is this email that you're sharing with us? Can you tell us what it is, please?
Well, this is an email from ACCA Vietnam announcing that I got the prize winner for SBL with the mark of 69.
Incredible. So you got the highest marks, or the highest mark on the SBL examination, or in the SBL examination in Vietnam. Yes?
Yes.
That is an incredible achievement, Huong. So first of all, many, many congratulations. And I'm sure that anyone watching this will join me in congratulating you on your amazing achievement. Okay, so can you take that off now, the screen? And I'd like to ask you a little bit more about how this happened. This really exciting thing happened. So here you are. You've decided you're going to take SBL in December 2022. And how did you kind of decide about, how you're going to prepare for it?
Preparing
Oh,
SBL,
okay, no, go
well,
on. Sorry.
it's quite different from SBR since knowledge in SBL is very large. So after each chapter, I would draw like a mind map to sum up the main content that we studied in that chapter in a shortest way as possible, but still has the main point. And at the weekend, I would revise the chapter in from the first chapter to the chapter that I would study that week.
Right. Okay. That's brilliant. And I want to talk more about that in a second. But so you were doing this on a course. In fact, that was where we met, correct?
Yes.
So this was when you went home. This is how you kind of covered or revised the areas that we'd covered in our training. Yes. So that's where you and I met on this course, and we were going through the syllabus. And so when you went home, you did the mind maps, you consolidated the information from each chapter, and then you reviewed it, you revised it each week as we covered more and more material. Yes. So I assume that having gone through this so many times, by the time we got to the last chapter, you would have been an expert on on the SBL syllabus. Yes. Having been through it so many times.
Well, it's hard to say because yes, it is very the textbook is very thick and
Yeah.
it's very hard for me to remember all the definitions. But I can only understand the fundamental principle of each chapter, so, which is sufficient for me to apply in the question.
Right. Okay, fair enough. Now, that's a really interesting point. Were you in any question in the SBL examination asked for a definition of anything?
No.
No. So, but you learned, or you tried to remember, to memorize definitions. Is that right?
But I don't remember the definition. I just want to understand like what does it mean and how to apply it.
Right. Okay. Tell me more about what you mean when you say how to apply it.
Well, maybe I think of an example.
Like a real world example, yeah?
Well, maybe it's not a very detailed example, but for example, when we study the I remember there's a model about the BCG model, the cash cow, dog star.
Yeah.
And I would well, first I would of course learn the definition. What is a star? What is a cash cow? What is a dog? And then when it comes to a question, I would try to understand the scenario and well, what does it mean? How when applied to those definitions.
Great. Okay. Okay. So you take, let's say, a cash cow. You know what the characteristics are of a cash cow product, yes, or a cash cow, whatever product group, whatever it is. And then when you were faced with the scenario, an exam scenario, you were able to look at a particular product, let's say, and say, right, these are the characteristics of the product. It fits into the framework of what a cash cow is. And then from that, you're able to say, right, with this product, this is what's how it should be used. This is that we need to think about replacing it. We need to recognize that its life cycle is not indefinite, and so on. Yes, so that was the way you were kind of connecting the theory, the frameworks, with the examinations. Is that a fair summary, Huang?
Yes, yes, it is.
That's brilliant. Okay, so here we are. You've gone through the tuition course, right? You've done a brilliant job of kind of really understanding what's in there, and then we actually started on the revision, yes, where we looked at past exam papers, real exam papers. What was your kind of initial, what were your initial thoughts when you looked at the past exam paper? You thought, oh my, what do I do now? What did you think?
Yeah. Well, of course, when I first looked at the questions, I felt completely lost because the question was very long and yeah, like in SBR, the question is quite, I don't say short, but I can
Shorter.
summarize. Yeah, I can summarize the main idea. But in SBL, there are many content, and I don't know which one is important. So
Right.
yeah, I quite lost for me.
Right. So it's a bit of a shock to the system, right? Because the volume of information that's in the exam. So what did you do about that? How did you kind of deal with that, Wong?
Well, I have to say the technique that you taught us helped me a lot. Like we need to highlight the important phrases and deciding which phrases are important and keep and highlight them while we reading the questions. And when we writing the answer, always looking back at the questions to make sure that we are not going sideways and cover all the area that the questions is at, the question is talking about.
Right, right. I mean, as you well know, I know we discuss this a lot in class, Wong. The examiner constantly says that candidates kind of go sideways, as you put it, right? They start answering a question which hasn't actually been asked, and so they end up wasting a lot of time writing an answer, but actually earning 0 marks. Now, okay, so you mentioned one technique that we talked about in class. Were there any others that you felt helped you the most?
They are especially when we are writing our answers, we have to make sure that our exam how do we call it, the examiners understand what we are saying, and therefore we have to structure our answer in the most clear way as possible. And also in the content of the answer, we have to set it short, but cover all the content in the question. And for me, I would use the structure of state, explain, and apply, which in the apply part, I would try to make it, I would try to apply the more specifically, the better.
Specific to the scenario, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. The state, explain, apply framework, which I developed, I think really kind of consolidates the approach that we need to take in the examination to focus on making a point that is specific, that is applicable to a particular issue, and then moving on. Because, as you know, right, in the exam, we have a major time constraint, and there's a lot of pressure because a lot of information to read, to understand, to absorb, and to integrate into our answers. Okay, so state, explain, apply, analysis of the paper, and so on. Okay, so here you are. You're sitting there in the exam, right? You're sitting there. You're sitting the exam. How does it feel?
Well, I felt at first I felt kind of stressed because even though I know the technique when reading the answer, I still feel the time pressure. So at first I felt kind of panicked. Well, but then I when a couple of minutes passed, and then somehow I gained my stableness again.
Brilliant, brilliant. And what was it that allowed you to relax a little bit?
Well, maybe because I was too focused on reading the question, I forgot how I really felt.
Okay, brilliant, excellent. Okay, so there you are, reading the questions, reading the exhibits, you're highlighting the key information, and that relaxed you, yeah, because
Yes,
you were going through a process which you were comfortable with. Is that fair?
yes, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so then you start answering your questions. How was your time discipline?
Well, in our in our 4 hour sitting, in the first 1 hour, I would use to analyze the questions, and then the last 3 hours, I would divide them between the questions based on the mark awarded for each of them.
And were you good at, because I always suggest that you put your finishing time at the end of the question, right? When you're analyzing the paper. So let's suppose your finishing time was 9:32. Did you stop at 9:32?
Well, to be honest, I'm not that 100% disciplined, but I would allow like a 2 or 3 minutes pass, just a little, but not like a 10 or 15 minutes late. Well,
Okay, good.
it's too long.
Yeah, okay. So you made a couple of minor errors, you overran on time. But did that mean then that you left yourself enough time to attempt the later tasks as well?
Yes. Luckily, I finished all of them on time.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely amazing. I mean, because as you know, Huang, I know we talked about this in class, it is rare for candidates to complete all of the answers to the tasks within the time available in the SBL examination. But this time discipline obviously seemed to help you quite a lot. Excellent. So there you are. You've finished your exam. You've given it in. Life continues. Life, comes back into your existence. You could actually go and meet friends again. You know, um, you're not stressed. And then the results come out. So talk us through what happened there. The day of the
Uh,
results.
the day of the result.
Yeah.
Well, at first I was just expecting a passing mark of 50. Well, that day in our time zone, it's the mark is released at 7 a.m. and but the night before that I couldn't sleep because I was too worried about the result.
Oh dear. Right. Okay. So
Yeah,
here you are. You haven't slept all night. The results are coming out at 7 o'clock in the morning, your time, Vietnam time.
yeah.
And then what happens? So 7 o'clock, you rush to your computer or your phone or what?
Yeah, was at 7 o'clock. I was staring in my phone screen, waiting for the notification to pop up. Yeah, it was very stressful.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I believe that you and thousands of students around the world must have been exactly. Okay. So then it pops up. What does it say?
Well, it's just setting my mark, which is 69. And well, at first I was surprised that it was higher than I expected. And then I go to my friends and family and tell them the good news
Hmm.
because they were also worried just like me.
I'm sure. I'm sure. And did it at that time say that they were the highest marks in Vietnam?
No,
Okay, so you didn't know yet how
yeah,
much of a star you actually were. at this stage. Right. So, of course, you had this great big party at 7 o'clock in the morning, right? You were on the phone with your friends and whatever. And then slowly things calm down and you go back, to your normal day's work, thinking about, other stuff and also planning perhaps for your next ACCA sitting. And then you get notification, you get the email which you just shared with us. How did that feel?
Well, at that time, I couldn't even believe my eyes. I thought, well, at first I thought that they were, maybe they made a mistake. Like somehow I couldn't believe by then. But then it slowly sank in, and I was truly surprised about myself and how in my effort, how I actually tried.
Brilliant. I mean, I can imagine it must have been it must have taken you some time to believe that this was real, I guess. But there it is. It's very real, and you did an amazing job, Huang. And I'm sure that you'll be going from strength to strength with your other subjects, simply because you work so hard and so systematically rather, and you are committed. And so I expect that this is not the last time you will surprise yourself, maybe no one else, not anyone else, but not the last time you'll surprise yourself by achieving an amazing mark in your subject. So congratulations again, Huang, and well done. If there was a message that you wanted to give to students who were studying or were thinking of studying for SBL, what would that message be?
Uh, well, for me, maybe it's like don't uh, don't don't afraid that you're not coming from a background of economic. Well, I'm not. I don't have like professional knowledge to take an SBL exam, but well, I studied anyway. It it's designed for everyone to study, and if you want to pass it, you just have to make real effort to study it.
Agreed. And when you say real effort, and I'm going to ask you a tough question now, okay? Well, so where should most of that effort be focused on? Learning the syllabus or on application of knowledge and techniques to past exams? Where should most of the effort be?
I would say about 90% of my effort is in practicing past exams, because learning the syllabus is what is only it's not really relatable when writing a definition in the exam.
Yeah,
You wouldn't get many marks. So I would try to how to practice the questions, how to present my answers, how to uh, explain my ideas, and train my mind, my thoughts in thinking in a way strategically, in the professionals would think.
right, absolutely, and that is completely in line with the ACCA's philosophy and goals at strategic professional level. So, Huang, I know you haven't been well, and I know you've been struggling with your voice. So I'm gonna let you go, and let you rest your throat and get better. But thank you really for taking the time. It was so much fun seeing you again, and hearing your experience. And I'm sure that many students will benefit from what from your experience and your advice. So have a wonderful day, Huang. Have a great day. It was lovely to see you. Okay.
Thank you. It's lovely to see you again too.
Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Okay, so just going to stop recording.